Are you tired of making boring looking pathways? Well, then stick around for this video where I'll give you my best tips for making beautiful paths that you'll want to walk all over. Hello everyone, Bowtie back here again with another building tips and tricks video. Before we get started today, there are 4 main points that I want to go over for you to keep in mind as we're talking about each of the different tips I'm going to be presenting you today. So first off, I want you to think about themes. So this is going to be if you're going to be doing like a path in a desert, in a modern city, you know, science fiction, or maybe through a forest. That's going to help you figure out what you want to do for my point number 2, which is color. What colors do you want to use? So if you're going to be building in a forest, you're probably going to be using a lot of browns and a lot of greens. If you're going to be building in a desert, it's going to be a lot of like that sandy color. Modern city, it's going to be a lot of grays and blacks for your paths. And that's going to help you out with point number 3. What block types do you want to use? So in a forest, if you're using your browns and greens, that's going to be dirt, coarse dirt, brown concrete powder, your soil sand, grass blocks, things like that. If you're building in a modern city, that's going to be a lot of grays. So your stone brick, cobble, andesite, and so forth. And that's going to help you out now when you're thinking about your 4th point, which is your detailing. And for me, when I do detailing, I think about how much use this path has had. Is it brand new and in perfect condition? Or has it been used a lot and really old and has cracks and worn down and holes and that sort of thing? So that's really important to keep in mind as we're talking about these tips throughout this video. You can also see me use these tips live on stream at twitch.tv/bowtiedaniels. Links in the description. Okay, so here we are for my first path design. This is a really simple, really basic path that can work out really well for maybe doing it for like a dirt road between villages. It could be going between maybe forests and trees and things like that and wrap around. Really pretty basic here. So I went with that as the theme. Now, since I'm working with a dirt path, I know obviously my colors are going to be brown. So that made it really easy to pick what blocks I wanted to use here. So we went with some coarse dirt. We got path blocks and some basic brown concrete powder. And what I did here is I picked a dominant block. So I made sure that within my browns, I'm using a lot of coarse dirt. And this is going to be very important as you're making your paths, because a lot of times paths can look really busy if there's not a dominant block. They can get busy, they can get messy, and they just don't look nice. So you can do the same exact concept here, use the same exact blocks, but if you're using like equal amounts of coarse dirt and brown concrete powder and path blocks, it's just going to look like a mess. It's not going to look nice. You're going to have your dominant path block. Usually what I do is I'll go and I'll make the entire thing in my dominant block. So the coarse dirt, and then I'll come back in, start punching out, digging some holes, and start filling that in gradually in a couple different passes with the other blocks at detailing in. Now, when making paths, you don't just do the path. You have surrounding bits and areas to look at for adding extra detail as well. So in this case, I just went with a couple of stone brick walls to frame the path and direct it along. You can have, you know, parts that maybe turn down this way and split off into another road or a path. Well, let's go look at our next design. Okay, so here we are for our second version of the dirt road path. And it's just one that is just a little bit more old. It's a little bit more aged. So we came in here, we took out some of the stone brick walls and switched in some andesite and some cobble for those walls. We added in some bushes, so maybe it's not as well maintained. It still looks like it's a very used path. So I kept the center part here free from any debris. There's no grass or anything growing on it, because a lot of times when you walk on a path, you're probably going to be in the center area. I also introduced a little bit of podzol in here just to give a little bit more wear and tear. Like, you know, leaves have fallen from the trees and are settling in on the path. So since maybe this path isn't used as much, it's just collecting a little bit more debris. And I even added in some stones. Whoops, forgot I can't punch things. I'm in creative, Bowtie. Let's put that back in. So you can add in some cobblestone, add a little bit more interest into what you're doing here as well. And even add the leaves. They don't have to just be flat like I did back there. They can be growing up and over onto your walls. And over here I have just like a bit of a wall that was torn down and reclaimed by nature, and instead a little bit of grass has grown up. Okay, so I took this path, aged it up, you know, a couple of 100 years or something. I don't know. I don't know how much time has gone by. But what I started doing, and I did this a little bit in the other path too, you can see it, but it's a lot more pronounced in this one, as I started bringing in a lot of grass blocks into the mix. So I reduced the amount of coarse dirt and other blocks a lot more, and grass blocks have become my dominant block in this version of the path. So we're still following the same sort of theme, but because this block is really, or this path is really old, it's a lot more aged, we changed up our block palette a bit more. We also introduced things like stairs. So that's going to act like there's holes and dips and things in your path. We have some stone buttons around here just to have like pebbles and things. The path is still clear in the center, so people are still coming through and walking down this middle bit. But now there's more grass. The leaves have gotten bigger, a little bit more out of control. We got double tall grass or high grass, whatever you want to call it. Some of the stone maybe has worn down, and maybe if they were like cement stone, sometimes they have like a supporting, like what's it called, like a pry bar or rebar or something like that. It's in the middle keeping up. So in this case, I used a piece of oak fence to act as that, you know, to hold these pieces together. Added in a little bit more cobble here and there, and just, you know, did what I could to make it look a little bit more overgrown. And you can take this a step farther. You can add in flowers and things like that too if it's in a forest, and that can help make it look overgrown too, like it was really forgotten and nature started reclaiming it. So some flowers could be a really nice additional detail in this. So again, we have our theme. That was the, you know, dirt path or dirt road going between places. We have our dominant block choice in this one, which was the grass path, or the grass blocks. We have our block palette, so that's grass, coarse dirt, podzol, path blocks. So our main color was brown and green in this one. So you can have more than one color when you're picking what you want your path to look like. Okay, on this next one, I went for more of a path that would be appropriate inside of a town or a village, a larger town or village. Something that was a bit more established and settled in, not, you know, some small dinky village on the outskirts of an area, but, you know, this could even go inside of a castle, or the castle walls and pathways of leading up to the main entrance. We went very much with gray here for our main color choice, and our main block is just plain old regular stone. We detailed it coming with a little bit of gravel, a little bit of andesite, and stone bricks on the side to act as a gutter. So this looks like it's still a very well maintained and very well kept path and roadway, but it looks like it's had a little bit of use, a little bit of wear and tear, and there's been a couple of repair jobs along the way. So it's very much still together, but you can tell it's not a brand new path. And then again, for the detailing, we went with very well trimmed and manicured hedges going up directly behind the walls. So it's very intentional. It's not like our dirt road path over there where nature started growing back in. These are things that have been landscaped, and, you know, maybe a gardener comes by and maintains them. So we got our flowers, and we're using specific flower types. There's no grass on the sides, just the grass blocks. This is a good way to just show, okay, it's a very well-used, well-traveled path, but it's got a little bit of age to it. And this is what you can do if you want it to be a little bit older. We came in, and some of the stairs on the outside act as the gutter. They're getting filled in with debris. We've introduced some cobble. It still looks like it's a pretty well used path, but maybe it's not super important anymore. You know, you're getting the flowers are still here, but you got grass blocks coming in, and even just grass coming in as an extra block as well. The leaves don't look terrible, but they're not out of control, but they are coming back and reclaiming some of the land. Once again, we worked in some andesite walls and some cobble walls just to show a little bit more wear and tear. But this is very much a still heavily used path. Just, you know, maybe it's not in an important area anymore, or the town that may have used this as their main road is down on some hard luck. So you can add a story and reasoning behind, why is my path this way? Why is it looking a little bit broken down? Why is it not in pristine condition? These are all things you can think about. So our dominant color, gray, block palette, you got cobble, andesite, gravel, and stone brick. Usage is, you know, moderate. So you have all those ideas in here to help you play with and think of, why am I making this path and how am I going to design it? Okay, this next one is still that same concept of a main city road path, but, you know, maybe this town is starting to get abandoned and people only travel through it just to get from point A to point B, and it's not used anymore. So you have a lot more wear and tear. We introduced stair blocks in here to show like gaps and holes and things. We have coarse dirt coming on into the path area, starting to reclaim it and go back to nature a bit. There's a lot more hedges growing in. We got the too high grass. We even got a flower growing in back here, and a couple of other places that are outside of the normal area. And flowers are not part of the color over here. So if we look, we used only blues and whites and that sort of palette. And over here we got some, what are these, daisies coming in? We got some poppies over here. So it's being reclaimed by nature, and, you know, no longer is it just the potted or planted flowers coming in. It's now the natural flowers of the area coming back into it. We brought in our stone buttons again for pebbles, and even a little bit of pressure plates to add just a bit more detail, a bit more depth to things. Stone has become a lot less common in here. We brought in a lot more. If we look through, it looks like a lot more cobble has become the dominant block, pretty closely matched with gravel. So if you do it right, you can have two block types that are pretty similar, but you still have to have one that edges it out very slightly. So in this one, I went with cobble. So we have our theme, our color, our age, and our block palette all figured out in this one. So just keep those in mind every time you're making a path, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to figure out how to do this. All right, so for our third theme, I want to go for a desert pathway or a desert road to mix it up from what we've done. You know, it could be more for plains or villages and woods or that sort of concept. So I wanted to do something that was not using the same sort of colors over and over again. So I went with a desert pathway here, and I made this one look very well kept. It could be either brand new, or maybe it's used in the palace and it's just constantly maintained. There's no breakdown. Everything is consistent. So we went just with this cobblestone looking sandstone texture here, which you might be thinking like, wait, what block is that? That's not a block I recognize in the game. You know, if you go into your creative and you do sandstone, there is no cobble-like texture on the top part. It's all smooth looking. Well, check out this bonus building tip here. We got stairs. If you do an upside down stair, you get this awesome looking pattern in here. You get that very similar to cobble. Look, actually, it might even be the same texture, just recolored for sandstone. So that's a bonus tip for just building in general. You don't have to use it just for paths. You can use it on lots of things. But yeah, once again, you know, some detailing on the side, some very purposely placed plants with some fence gates and fence posts and sandstone walls. Again, we got our gutters in here. So this is our pretty basic path here. Not much to say about this one, but the real cool thing is here, just again, those upside down stairs. So if we take our desert roadway or path, we want to age it up a little bit. This time, I've passed quite a bit of time on this one. We worked in a bunch of smooth sandstone in here. So if you were walking a lot over the cobble, that would get, you know, nice and smooth from wear and tear. We have sand coming in from the side, filling in our gutters. Maybe in some spots where they had holes and things, because remember I said this was maybe used in a palace where it's supposed to be really well kept and maintained. So rather than just letting holes and maybe they didn't have the material to put it back in, or they didn't want to use the same material because it proved unworthy since it was breaking down, they patched it up with, in this case, some birch wood, much cheaper material. Maybe it's a little bit more versatile for the area. I don't know. These are just ideas and stories and things I have in my head. Again, a little bit of wear and tear on the side. A couple of fence posts broke down here and there. So maybe they're not as prestigious as they used to be. They still try and maintain this air of wealth by keeping this road maintained, but they're not doing as well because they're not replacing, you know, the stuff on the sides. Again, we have the leaves coming in and starting to move on to the path a little bit, and even mixing in a little bit of dead bushes because this is supposed to be for a desert biome. All right, so it's been a really long time. This path is starting to get pretty old and probably forgotten about. So what do we do for that one? Well, I mixed in some, I think this is stripped spruce, or stripped, not spruce, that's birch, stripped birch wood to act like it's, you know, weathered and aged down. The planks here, they're a little bit more smoothed out from wear and tear. We got dips and holes in here using stairs and slabs. We got a lot more sand in here. So now sand is becoming our dominant block in this pathway. A lot more of the walls are gone, a lot more bushes and dead bushes in here as well. Seeing less and less of the upside down sandstone stairs to get that like cobble texture. And the sand is getting, you know, a lot more in the center here. So that's something else you can work with. The walls are a lot more taken down. So that's getting kind of, you know, the same as what we've done on all of our other things. So we're just building on the same idea, using the same concepts over and over and over again. Now, this is a desert pathway. So maybe you don't want to use that many bushes, or if it's really forgotten about and abandoned, you're not going to have plant life growing in the desert. So instead, you can take out a lot of those leaves and just use the dead bushes in place. It's the same exact path as that one. I just copied and pasted it over here, block for block, and got rid of most of the bushes and added in just a couple more of the dead bushes in here too. So you can still leave in like maybe one or two leaf blocks to show that, okay, there could be some plant life here. It may actually be a really good idea. And I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but we could even add in some cactus instead of the dead bushes. How about that? So we can break out this one and pop in the cactus. So, you know, nature is coming back and reclaiming this place. Let's add in another one right here. Come on. Oh, I can't do it because it's right next to to a fence post. Those weird cactus growing rules. We'll just put that bush back in. There we go. So you can do that to age it up even more or work in more of the environment. Okay, so there's some examples for different types of paths and things that you can make and use in your own worlds. And I'm hoping that this gives you a lot of ideas and inspiration for what you can build. Now let's talk about one more time the different tips that I went over. So tip 1, you want to pick your theme. So desert, forest, modern city, sci-fi, etc. You want to pick your color. If you want to use your browns, your greens, your grays, depending on the type of theme that you're going for. You want to pick your block type. So browns, you want to go with your dirts. Grays, you want to go with your stones, and so forth. And then you want to think about your age. So how much use does your path have? Is it brand new and is in perfect condition? Or is it really old and have a bunch of holes and cracks in the ground like the desert path here right behind me? So I really hope these tips helped you out. And if you've enjoyed them, then I highly recommend checking out the videos that you see on your screen right now. I got a ton of other building tips and tricks videos on the channel right now, and there's going to be a bunch more coming real soon. So until next time, everyone, this is Bowtie. Peace out.